Last month, the Det Chung Fun and Canal in Cambodia, which is led by China Road and Bridge Corporation, officially started construction. This month, there is new progress in military trade between China and Cambodia, according to the news of the Cambodia-China Journal on September 5. On September 4th, Mary Sochita, spokesperson of the Cambodian Ministry of Defense, said that, at the request of the Cambodian side, China will provide to-surface warships to help Cambodia enhance its ability to maintain national security. Mary Sochita also announced the model of surface warships that China intends to provide to Cambodia. It is said that the two warships provided by China are Type 056C frigates. The C here may be the initial letter of Cambodia in English, given that currently, except for the troops stationed in Hong Kong, the Chinese Navy has transferred almost all Type 056 frigates to the China Coast Guard. Only Type 056 frigates are left in the naval battle order. It is expected that the frigates transferred by China to Cambodia may also be Type 056 frigates. Considering that the anti-submarine warfare equipment configuration on the Type 056 frigate is relatively high, and many functions may not be needed by Cambodia at all, it is estimated that China will also carry out modifications before the transfer and remove some highly sensitive ship-mounted subsystems. For example, active and passive towed sonar arrays, etc. Of course, these are all details, according to the statement of the Cambodian Ministry of Defense. Currently, Chinese naval personnel are training Cambodian naval personnel in Cambodia. It is expected that these two Type 056C frigates will be delivered by the end of 2025, with a final disclosure of information by the Cambodian Ministry of Defense on the Type 056 transferred by China. Many things that people have been speculating about since the beginning of this year have finally been settled. Since the beginning of this year, there have always been two Type 056 frigates of the Chinese Navy quietly staying on the dock of the Ream Naval Base in southern Cambodia. Location changes of two Type 056 frigates at Cambodian ports in half a year in May. Satellite photos taken by Western commercial satellites disclose this matter. Both China and Cambodia did not make any statements. The outside world was full of discussions. Some said it was normal training. Some said it was foreign exchanges, and some said that China was going to build a dock at the Ream Naval Base and so on, causing a lot of commotion. Now it seems that the above news is all nonsense. China is conducting training on the use of Type 056 frigates for Cambodian naval personnel. After all, for the Cambodian Navy, not to mention more advanced combat ships, things like the Type 056 light frigate are definitely large and advanced warships in Cambodia. Chinese personnel must personally conduct on-site training, and the training time will definitely be relatively long. That's what it is. Sonar and ship-borne equipment of Type 056 after the training is completed. The instructors of the Chinese Navy can withdraw, and the Cambodian Navy can receive and operate these two Type 056 frigates by itself. The only problem is that we don't know now whether these two Type 056C frigates are transferred by the Chinese Navy while the ships are still in operation or newly built and then sailed there. The so-called transfer while the ships are still in operation means that after the training is completed, the ship crews of the Chinese Navy will directly return home through other channels. The two Type 056 frigates and all technical data will be transferred to the Cambodian Navy on the spot and join the Cambodian Navy's combat order. Needless to say about new construction, it means that Chinese shipyards will build two Type 056 frigates for Cambodia. After the outfitting and sea trials are completed in one go, they will be transferred to Cambodia. Cambodian media reported the scene considering that so far, no domestic shipyard has reported news of starting construction of Type 056 frigates. And if it is only for training the Cambodian Navy, then sending one Type 056 frigate is enough. The two-ship crews can take turns operating on board. There is no need to send out two ships of the same type. Therefore, now the outside world is speculating that China may carry out a transfer while the ships are still in operation to Cambodia. The two Type 056 of frigates sent will be directly transferred to the Cambodian side after the training of Cambodian naval personnel is completed. Let's see if this is the case. The significance of Cambodia equipping with Type 056. As for why the Chinese Navy will transfer to Type 056 of frigates to Cambodia and why the Cambodian Ministry of Defense will publicly disclose this news at this time, I think there are two factors. First, the current strength of the Cambodian Navy is extremely weak. At present, the countable surface combat forces don't even have warships. There are only two Su-25P torpedo boats inherited from the KHMER Rouge and a Type 067 small landing craft obtained from China. This little naval force is almost the same as having none. Therefore, even from the perspective of helping the Cambodian Navy improve its overall combat capability and better maintain national security within its capacity, China can help if it can. This is also understandable. Of course, giving the Cambodian Navy ships above Type 054A is completely useless. It can't operate them either. Giving some light frigates is completely sufficient. To Type 056 frigates second, we have to mention the Dead Chung Fun Canal that started construction last month. After this canal is completed, it will largely reshape the interest pattern of countries in the Mekong River Basin on the Indochina Peninsula. Cambodia, Laos and other countries will have an increased say and interest proportion in it. The Southern Economic Center centered on Ho Chi Minh City in southern Vietnam will have a decreased interest proportion in it. Vietnam's various underhanded maneuvers and small actions one after another now are largely due to seeing this. It is trying to check and balance in various ways. But in the face of absolute power, these small actions are meaningless. Whoever on the Indochina Peninsula mixes with China can get a piece of the cake. Therefore, from Vietnam's perspective, if various small actions don't work, it's hard to guarantee that Vietnam doesn't have some other ideas. After all, this is not without precedent. In the past, when the KHMER Rouge in Cambodia didn't listen to Vietnam's orders on the Indochina Peninsula, Vietnam dared to directly invade Cambodia. In such a chaotic era now, who can guarantee that Vietnam doesn't have the intention to do the same thing again? Moreover, Vietnam's influence extends deep into Cambodia. As long as it is not conducive to China's expansion of influence on the Indochina Peninsula, perhaps the United States will be happy to see it. This will make the situation on the Indochina Peninsula even more complex. Therefore, from this perspective, China must also ensure the national security of Cambodia and fundamentally dispel Vietnam's improper thoughts of directly overturning the table if various geopolitical strategic operations fail. So from a tactical perspective, although to Type 056 of frigates are small, they are still somewhat of a deterrence to the Vietnamese Navy. After all, the strength of the Vietnamese Navy itself is not particularly strong. The relatively good warships they have now are just a few Gepard-class light frigates. Compared with China's Type 056 of frigates, their performance is not necessarily much better. After these two Type 056 of frigates are in place, they will also be a deterrence to the Vietnamese Navy to some extent. From a strategic perspective, although two light frigates are small, they essentially declare to the outside world that the Cambodian Navy is under the protection of China, and the equipment used is all provided by China. Going further, it means that Cambodia is a place where China's national interests lie. What you see on the surface are only two light frigates, but behind them there may be large destroyers or even aircraft carrier battle groups. This is enough to make some restless countries calm down finally. Let's talk about military trade. In fact, in my opinion, If China really transfers to Type 056 of frigates to Cambodia while they are still in operation this time, it can be regarded as opening up a completely new form of foreign military trade and military assistance. Previously, China was short of equipment. All kinds of equipment were used for 3 years when new, 3 years when old, and then patched up and used for another 3 years. There were very few equipment transferred directly while still in operation, because if we transferred them, we would have nothing to use. Chinese Navy Type 05 to be. But now it's different. First, China is not short of equipment. For example, for light frigates like Type 056, many shipyards across the country can manufacture them. If we really want to build them, I'm afraid it wouldn't be a problem to build 200 in a year. Second, the speed of equipment renewal and upgrading is too fast. For example, for the J-10 fighter jet, from the large-scale deployment of the J-10A to the large-scale deployment of the J-10C, and from the large-scale deployment of the J-11B to the large-scale deployment of the J-16. The gap is only about 10 years. The previous generation equipment has already become outdated, just when it is in the middle of its service life. And new equipment has emerged one after another. If old equipment is upgraded, it is not cost-effective. If it is not retired, it will always occupy the establishment. But if it is retired, it is clearly equipment in its prime. After retirement, it will cause serious waste of resources and military expenditure. Chinese Air Force J-10A. The transfer of to Type 056 of frigates to the Cambodian Navy has, to some extent, pioneered a new way to deal with equipment of this kind whose technology belongs to the previous generation, has been replaced by contemporary equipment, but cannot be retired. That is, directly exporting second-hand warships and second-hand aircraft. Exporting these equipments has many advantages. First, these equipments were once active service equipments of our military, not special equipments for foreign trade after failing in bidding. Their performance, especially reliability, is completely trustworthy and is at the same level as the equipments used by our military. There is no need to worry about buying a monkey version or having concerns about reliability issues. Second, these equipments have a relatively long remaining service life and generally have a large upgrade space, according to the equipment maintenance standards of the People's Liberation Army. There is no need to worry about their technical status. Although it seems that they have been used for half, they may actually be 80% new when received. If upgraded with the assistance of China, with the equipment usage intensity of third world countries, perhaps 1/3 of the service life can be extended. This is more cost-effective than directly purchasing new equipment. Third, after these equipments are exported, it is highly likely to attract many third world countries to compete to purchase them. This is equivalent to China regarding these countries as its own people, and many subsequent matters will be more convenient to operate. After all, we have always emphasized that the essence of military trade is exporting security products. Buying Chinese equipment means standing on China's side. Then, buying China's active military equipment is surely an even more firm stance on China's side. In fact, this behavior of selling a large number of active service equipments was implemented by a certain empire before. For example, many Perry-class frigate hulls that had only been in service for about 20 years were sold to friendly countries. So I think that China will sooner or later take this step too. Let's start with Cambodia.